Hi, Stephen.
Mary Ann, so how was your vacation?
It was great.
Good.
Every minute of it um, was, you know, was excellent. We had a great time. Um, so lucky us. So it's warm and sunny there and well, we've been there so much, it's just very easy.
Uh,
We know where everything is, we know how to get everywhere. We know what we like, we know how to avoid the crowds. Um, so we had a great time. So
Good.
I would have liked another week. But we met a number of people who were staying for 6 and 8 weeks. And it
Well,
was really interesting to see that and see how they were doing it. And it feels possible. So, not now. But when we're retired, it just seems like something we could do. So it was great. So, let's see. I want to
Are
write.
you moving to a tropical location, Marianne?
Yes, I'm moving. Yes, I'll just be zooming in. I'll just be doing the job remotely. So, from December 15th through March 1st. Yes. So maybe December 1st through March 1st.
Oh.
So, so
I don't know. I would go all through March now because it seems to be the worst month.
I know. Oh, the thing about March is we think it's supposed to be the start of spring,
I know, and it's
but
not.
but it's not.
No,
It's
it's
not.
more lion than lamb,
Yes,
always.
that's right. That's yes. Um, but we tend to go someplace warm in January, and then that helps us get through the
Yes.
rest of the winter.
Yeah.
Um, so I just want to make sure we touch on, I want to make sure that I ask Dominic if he's spoken to the plumbing, whoever it is that's in charge of bathrooms for the town of
Yes.
Shutesbury. So
Yes.
I don't want to not ask that question. So, hi, Heather. Okay. Um, so
Hello. How's it going?
it's good. It's good. Oh, good. There's Jeff. Oh, so it's 12, there's Roger. Good. So while we're waiting for Dominic, we could review and approve the minutes from the last meeting, which I meant to look up the date of that last meeting. So
I think it was the 25th, right? Because we were in Sharon. Or was that a building committee meeting?
that was a building
Building
committee.
committee.
So I'll look it up. I'm sure I can figure it out unless Stephen or Jeff knows it right off the top of their head.
I have
No.
January 10th as the
That,
last one.
that could be it. So I sent out the minutes, and Stephen, I didn't get anything from you.
You didn't?
So does either of you have any comments about those minutes?
Nope.
No? Does somebody want to make a motion to approve those minutes as submitted?
I'll move that we approve the minutes from January the 10th as submitted.
I'll second.
Okay. And then all in favor, Antonellis, aye.
Almas, aye.
Quackenbush, aye.
Excellent. Thanks. That's good. Um, okay, we've got Porpla, Dominic. Okay, it looks like we've got everybody here. Roger, do you know if Neil's going to be joining us? You're muted.
Yeah, I
Okay.
believe he is.
Okay, well, we'll just go ahead and get started. And then we can, and he'll just join in when he gets here. So Dominic, are you going to be sharing your screen?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Yep.
Make co-host, yes. Okay, so you are the co-host. So you can take it away.
I think you made Stephen co-host. I'm still
Oh.
disabled.
It moves around.
Oh.
Try again. Make co-host. All right, that should be you. And I'll just leave Stephen co-host in case something happens to me.
Nice.
Okay.
Excellent.
Okay.
Great. So we have a busy week coming up.
We do.
So I just wanted to see if there are any updates on the well contractor. I don't know if that's today's meeting or forum or meeting is the forum for this. I know that you guys have a quote and you're looking we are looking to get that work underway as quick as possible. So I just
Okay,
wanted to mention
so
that.
I'll give you an update. So actually the DEP has to do a site visit before the well contractor can drill the well. So we are working on scheduling that site visit. And that depends on their schedule, but I am, and Matt Cassane needs to, or Fuss and O'Neill needs to schedule that visit. So I'm pushing that, and I'm hoping that we can have that meeting scheduled by the end of the week. And then we have, we've been soliciting quotes from well contractors, and we didn't have enough yesterday, but now we have enough. So I will let Elaine know, and we'll schedule a meeting probably early next week to choose a well contractor. So we're working on it.
Great.
And may I interrupt? There's Penny here. There's one more piece, and that is we have to have the order of conditions associated with the notice of intent that's before the commission as the well is in the buffer zone. So cross your fingers for Thursday.
Got it. Good point, Penny. Thank you. Yeah.
And we have a third quote coming in 2 days. I just heard from Quabbin that that'll be coming in 2 days.
Great.
Okay, good.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. It's great to get this background as we coordinate with our plumbing engineer, because they're looking for this. So that's great to know. And to your point, Penny, fingers crossed for tomorrow's Conservation Commission meeting.
Fingers, eyes, and toes.
Everything we can. I also wanted to mention, I briefly spoke to Neil about this. Technology scope is not a part of our scope right now. So that's, computers and screens and miscellaneous items like that. I just wanted to bring it up because we have Bala have written into their contract an ad alternate or an ad service fee if you wanted to bring them on board to help consult for that. My sense is from Neil that scope is a lot smaller than what you would normally typically need. And so I just wanted to bring it up that if you want to do this on your own, that's great. But if you were looking for engineer support, Bala would appreciate to be engaged earlier, sooner rather than later.
Okay.
So I just wanted to bring that up to discussion for you to have with Neil.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. What is a part of scope is all the rough in work, right? So we're basically going to do all the wiring, conduits, outlets, everything to the wall will be provided. Right. And then if you go on your own, then you'll need to furnish and install. Basically, that's all.
Right, but things like monitors and computers and projectors.
Display screen, that's right.
Display screens, all of that kind of stuff. Right, okay.
Phones.
Needing
Yes, yep.
Software, phones, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
But if you were, you know, it's a question for Neil. If you guys do want to have engineering oversight and assistance with that, Bala, do have it. They are available and happy to help out. So
Okay.
let us know if you do want their services.
Okay.
So Dominic, question, so you're gonna provide all the pathways,
That's
but
correct.
no cabling?
I think that's correct.
Okay,
Yep. So everything will be pull string. But let me actually get a good answer for you. Normally, we have the technology contractor pull
Mhm.
all the lines for that. That's how we normally do it. But let me confirm that for you.
Okay.
Yep. Marianne, we in the coming weeks should coordinate on low voltage, you know, outlets, floor boxes again, just to confirm with where we are and that your needs are being met. The other thing is lighting control coordination, you know, where are the light switches? I think the meeting room is the only somewhat complex zoning room. You know, we're going to have general lighting, and then we'll have a presentation lighting, you know, so there'll be a couple of zones in that room. So it's just something I just wanted to mention. It's something that we need to coordinate as we've got our lighting consultant and electrical engineers coordinating. This week, as I said, is busy with meetings coming up. We're meeting with town authorities tomorrow at midday. We're excited to do that. And then we have Conservation Commission tomorrow night. And then we have an N-Grid meeting on Friday. So that was it, kind of the homework, back of house. I wanted to present to you the latest landscape plan, where Stimpson and Fuss and O'Neill have been revising the turnaround in the parking lot so that we meet the setback requirement for our neighbor. We are able to meet the Shutesbury fire truck turnaround radius. So that's been confirmed. We're going to make sure we have that documentation for tomorrow's meetings with the town authorities, mainly the fire chief. But I just wanted to get that in front of you. So basically, this layout now has removed one of the parking stalls and slightly reorganized how the radiuses of how this turnaround works. So we do meet the 15-foot offset. This is currently showing a guardrail, but hot off the presses is you know, the intent initially was that we would eliminate that guardrail along with the retaining wall to meet some value engineering needs, you know, our targets. Currently it's drawn in there because we should provide some sort of barrier condition for vehicles making that turn, and because it's, you know, there's a adjacency there to the neighboring property. But it was recently suggested that we salvage boulders on site from excavation, and we can just place some boulders there, and that's a much more cost-effective solution. And I think nicer, actually. So we just found out that today. So I think that would be the right approach. So I just wanted to mention that because the current plan still shows the guardrail. Stimpson will continue to work the planting plan as it relates to this, you know, slight changes here, a little bit more area to be able to plant trees. So things are going in the right direction here. So I just wanted to give you this plan. I have a civil plan coming up, but first open it up to any questions.
In that 15-foot area that you were just talking about, the setback,
Yeah.
Is there a steep slope there or is it flat or?
No,
going
no, it's a 1 in 2 to 1 in 3 slope. So the thing that the stormwater that Fuss and O'Neill had to manage with their stormwater was to ensure that that edge remains at a certain elevation so that the water catchment can actually flow back to drains. So we don't want to shed water to the neighbor. And
Right.
so there is a slope there, but it does not require a retaining wall. Yes, we do have a slope. And I think the fact that we're close and it's a vehicular move, right? You've got to actually make a turn. And the fact that there is a slight slope there, we do need some sort of barrier condition. Yeah.
Thank you.
Dominic, are we planning to plant that buffer?
I believe so, yes. So Stimson are looking at that now. So I
Okay.
think, as we coordinate with Conservation Commission as well, it would be nice to, include some sort of a natural privacy effect, I think, by planting. So that is
I'm thinking of the impact to the neighbors of the headlights
Exactly.
sweeping through their
that's right.
property.
Yeah. So, to ensure that we have something that's low and able to screen, I think is appropriate. Yeah, that's a good point, Neil. So this is the civil plan, just to show that generally the same stormwater and site strategies are in effect here, and to show that grading works. So that's great to get that confirmation. This is another one of the plans that I plan to present tomorrow.
I thought we got rid of that paving where those benches were in the back.
So we've eliminated the benches. We still own that paving, but you're talking about these two here?
Exactly.
Yeah. There was a consideration to allow the library to install benches there at a later date. But and I believe you're correct that it was mentioned, Jeff, that everything should go. So if you feel strongly still about that, we can omit that. So,
Well, we still got to get on budget.
yeah. So I'll make sure to have them revise that. We'll delete those two, left and right.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, then moving on, if there are no other questions.
I do have a question, Dominic.
Sure, let me go back.
Yeah, go back couple of things. There's, by the end, well, is that a dumpster pad, the square on the left-hand side at the end of the sidewalk?
This here.
Yeah,
This is the transformer pad. And we have.
pad, okay, and then the bike racks, is that what the other?
That's correct. And
Okay.
as far as trash disposal and pickup, Marianne, that's another item that we need to coordinate about whether you have wheelie bins, whether you actually have a large dumpster that gets picked up regularly. I'm guessing, Roger, that's where you're going with this.
Is it that, and then if you scroll up towards the west,
Yeah.
there's another rectangle there. Just can't read what the label is on it.
Yeah. You're not talking about this here.
No, a little further,
It's
a little
further up,
further
yeah.
west, up by the well.
So I think there's a split. The well itself, I'm not sure. Hang on, this is just taking its sweet time to load.
Another shaded area,
Yeah.
that one, yeah.
This one here is a spillway. And there is I think it's a reinforced condition for the basin so that in an event, if there were if the system were to fail, there needs to be an avenue for the water to discharge, and that's a controlled way to do that. So that's what that zone is. My machine is having a hard time with this
Yeah,
presentation.
It's just like a bunch of riprap.
I don't think it is riprap. I have to look again at what that is. I'm going to switch to another software for you guys to see. I hope that was a relatively smooth transition. Are you able to see the presentation?
Mhm.
Yeah, great. So Roger, I believe
yeah, that one there, yeah.
this one here, yep. So
Okay.
emergency
So
spillway
what-
with reinforcement matting. So I believe it's a reinforced matting that allows the grass to grow through it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yep.
Dominic, I have a couple questions.
Mm-hmm.
The door at the south end of the meeting room, that's been removed, correct?
That's correct. So this needs to be revised for that. We're not going to have an entry point there. Yeah.
And then the exit door from the adult section,
This,
that
yeah.
section of paving, so that's
Yeah.
pavers. And I was wondering if that's something we want to hold or, have the macadam go all the way up to the door.
We could get the bituminous go all the way to the door and save a little bit there. So I'm happy to make that revision too. I think, the adults room, the seating condition there at the window is considered a real kind of placemaker for the project. It's one of those marquee experiences, and so I think owning paving is nice, but again, considering budget, we can definitely omit that. So just to
Pavement.
Penny here, I like that. I'd like to see what the savings is before you make that decision.
okay, let me make that assessment then.
And I agree that the view out there would be much more attractive with something other than blacktop.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a big savings, I would let go of that.
Yeah, sounds good. Let me get that to you for the next meeting, and then you can that'll help you make the evaluation for that. Anything else? So moving on. I wanted to bring this detail up again as this is a section through the exterior wall and the roof, showing the standing seam metal roof transition to the PVC. We've been continuing to finesse this detail and to ensure that the replacement of the PVC can be performed adequately without interrupting the metal seam roof, the metal standing seam roof. We have engaged our exterior envelope consultant, and we're looking to bring them on board to review this, to really help put your concerns to rest. Not only are we working with Garland, the roofing manufacturer, but to actually get an exterior envelope expert on board and also make their assessment on these details. So we are working with them to have them perform that work for us. So I just wanted to bring this detail up. It has currently been revised slightly to completely disconnect the PVC from the metal seam roof and allow the metal seam roof transition to stay independent of the PVC roof. So again, this is a work in progress. You know, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes on this. I just wanted to bring it up again. Stephen, I know you had some specific questions in our last meeting about this. And I think it'll be great to have SGH's review of this, and then I'll present that to you to make sure that everything here is okay.
Who's your envelope consultant?
SGH.
Simpson Comfort?
That's right.
Oh,
Yeah.
geez almighty.
Yeah.
We got the top dog. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So hopefully with their oversight, we'll be able to you know, cater to the concerns that people have for this. So so that was this detail. Not too much to discuss here, I don't think, until we get them on board, and then we can, you know, really ensure that what we're doing is okay. I did want to bring up also the transition at the entry vestibule. In DD, we had failed to include 2.5 rigid insulation. This is a section detail, so the door into the vestibule is to the right here. We have an overhanging condition, an exterior overhanging condition with an interior plenum space above the vestibule. And we're currently working this. We've been revising this detail to ensure that we have all the insulation that we need. I did discuss that question specifically with our mechanical engineer, and they've also been doing energy modeling for us. And we do not need any supplemental heat there now that we have sufficient insulation. So we should be all set. Moving on, Marianne, I wanted to just bring this page up. I'll send this presentation to you, and we can, you know, can further develop the library of things millwork. You might remember this ticket item was around $25,000 to $30,000. So we are looking to simplify this. If I start in elevation, we're looking to revise this and reduce the grade of finish, but still be adequate. Previously, we had maple veneer finish and all custom built. And now we've revised this somewhat so that the left portion here for browsing would actually contain metal shelving, as we do in adults and children's and other spaces around the library. So we would include a niche, just a drywall soffitted niche that can house metal shelving, which I think is sufficient. And there's a continuity with how we're treating shelving throughout the project. So I think this works well with that. This space above is too high really to, I think, to continue the metal shelving up. And so we were considering creating a niche, like a little pocketed area that you could store things in. Previously, we had casework so that there were doors. It was behind doors and adjustable shelves. We were thinking potentially you could do storage bins up there, something that's a little bit lower spec, but still allow you to store things up there. I think, you know, this can still do with a lot more discussion, you know, to better understand what you would like to store up there, and maybe we can treat that a little bit differently.
How tall is that section?
16.5 inches.
Okay.
And it would be 12 inches deep. So I'm just scrolling over to the section here.
Yeah.
So it's a little deeper than 12 inches actually to house 12-inch shelving. And then, you know, we would allow this kind of niche condition above.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Andrea, I see your hand is up.
I just have one question about that, because could it be, you know, like accessibility shelving where you can pull it down so that it becomes a little bit more useful. I just throwing that out there as an
Mhm.
idea, so that you're able to kind of grab it and bring it down so that you're able to utilize it a little bit better.
I think to your point, at the moment you would need a step stool or a small step ladder to get up there, I think, to use that space. So I'm not sure how we could, I think this portion of this wall was really dedicated to browsing. And so we saw this space up here as having some sort of storage potential.
Right, and could we just go ahead and plan to have a couple of doors on there? Some, I think it's better than having
An open
some kind
space.
of, right, an open
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
And I think I think that could be a place where we could put seasonal items away. So, so things that, it wouldn't be something that you'd be going to grab on a regular basis. And it just makes sense to be able to use the space, but not have it interfere with the browsing below it.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, let's look at, I was thinking about potentially sliding door, something fairly low spec. That very simple. It would mean that you could only get to the right side or the left side at a time, but maybe that's something that's at least closes that cavity off. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll continue to look at that. Focusing on the right, this is our first pass at redeveloping this. I think initially we looked to revise the spec of this ply, right? So we could get a nicer grade ply and just paint it, or just express a nicer grade ply with a clear coat. Previously, we had maple veneer, which is more expensive, but we are holding on to the previous layout so that the telescope cooktop can still be stored centrally here with a niche for the paddles. And then you have, miscellaneous storage for other pieces on shelves that are adjustable. I think this telescope shelf is also adjustable. And then that would be divided by a fixed shelf that allows a fixed vertical panel to then hold an adjustable shelf with a recessed coat hook, rod, sorry, a coat rod. So that if I go now to this section, you can see, it would be a recessed closet rod bracket that allows the rod to be installed and removed, so that can be seasonal. So you could remove the rod and then use that shelving, in winter differently, so that you don't have a rod interfering with how you use this. So still in development. I think this is a better solution than having the external rod bracket, which we had in DD. So this is the next step. But again, Marianne, we can kind of fine tune this. Where do you really need adjustable shelving? How do you see this being used in winter compared to summer? Would the paddles be stored elsewhere during winter as well? Do we introduce some more adjustable shelving here for you? So we've been starting to look at this. So yeah.
Right.
What are the rods for?
The rods are for the life jackets.
Okay, all right, thank
Yep.
you.
Right.
That's what I thought.
And I think snowshoes could go where the paddles are. In the winter, if we ever have a winter where it snows again, and the snow sticks around. And so I think that space can stay as it is, and it doesn't need adjustable shelves. It would be good if we had in that upper space, if there could be 4 shelves It looks like maybe there
Similar
are.
to this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
during the time of the year when so the kayaks are around June, July, September, October, well, about 5 months. So the other part of the year, you know, just so that we could highlight things
Mhm.
and have it be flexible. And it seems like shelves will be something that would be easy enough to tuck out of the way. You know, when we weren't using them.
Yeah, I think what you could do with those is you could stack them flat on
Yes,
this portion, or
Yeah.
you know, you could double them up here.
right. Yeah,
So I think there's
okay.
potential for that.
Yeah.
Penny, I see your hand up as well.
Thanks. As I keep looking at this, I know I've said something similar to this before. Our tiny little library now really has no space for a library of things. And I know we have a few things that we know about that we're putting in here, the cooktop, the telescope, the
Mhm.
kayak related things. But I feel like this is something that's really going to grow over time when we have space. And as I look at this and I think about how it's configured, I worry that we're devoting so much energy to the few things we have now that we're going to restrict what we might have in the future. And just a comment.
Mhm.
And I think it's a pretty flexible space. I mean, there's 4 shelves down here in the corner that aren't being used for anything. And
And is the cooktop, does the cooktop really need that much space?
it really does.
Okay,
Mm.
I haven't seen it, so I don't know.
Yeah, but it could, how deep is that?
It's a 24-inch
Okay, so the
niche there. Yeah.
cooktop could go in sideways, and there could be 2 items that were that size. So the telescope takes up all of that space. The cooktop isn't as wide as the telescope, the cooktop
Mhm.
container. And there could be 2 kind of kits that were that size side by side. Or when we don't have a lot of things, it could be displayed, you know, front facing so that people can see it.
Mhm.
And while the collection will grow, you know, it's gonna grow slowly, and it's also going to be constrained by space, and we'll have to make sort of you know, wise decisions about the types of things that we add to the collection based on the space that we have and the number of people in the community and what we think will be used. And the other thing is that things can be stored in the staff workroom closet, and they can just be pictured in this location. So all of the items won't necessarily be here, but there might be just a display of items. There are lots of different ways that libraries display library of things, and I'm just looking at this as sort of a place where you know, popular items are highlighted.
Mhm.
Okay, and you feel there's adequate space in other portions, because I know storage space has been talked about as a concern throughout this whole conversation.
Right. Well, so you know, we're just gonna make the best we have, given the space that we have.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think, you know, talking about ultimate flexibility here, one thing that I've been holding on to is really dedicating telescope, cooktop, and then paddle storage. And you can see that assigned with fixed components. You know, I'm wondering whether, where's my mark? I'll do it this way. I'm just wondering whether they, you know, I hold on to this as a central spine, and, you know, maybe I'm losing a little bit of flexibility. I'm sorry, efficiency in storage by moving the cooktop, right? There's a bit of fluff space that's not being used, you know, and then I'm just wondering if it's not typical to do a vertical panel that is inserted, that is not fixed, you know, to then store the paddles, or You know, maybe the telescope and cooktop can go over here. I feel like there's, you know, it's not as efficient. And then this could be removable, maybe. You know, as soon as you start putting these in, this needs to be fixed, really. I guess I'm just thinking out aloud here about flexibility. You know, if I could just hold on to this and then just have shelving all the way up, right? You can do what you want. You can put the rods in when you need to take some shelves out. You could store the telescope and cooktop. I think the paddles are the one that don't have an assigned space. The question then is, Marianne, do you have those stored in a inventive way elsewhere somehow?
Right.
Is there some sort of a collective bin or basket or something where they can actually just be, you know, located nearby?
Right.
Um,
I like it the way it is.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Stephen?
Dale is first.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dale.
Thank you. So my question or comment concerns the plywood, the paintable plywood itself. I mean, I've done a lot of work in this medium, and I'm sort of wondering, and I consider this kind of a tough decision, and I'm wondering, you know, what you're leaning towards in terms of a paintable plywood.
I think initially I would like to do a clear seal because it's more hard wearing, and I think, you know, where you're going with this is a painted surface is going to wear, especially as a shelf. And especially these kind of products, you know, they're a bit heavier, bigger, they'll get scraped along, and they won't look as good over time and need to be repainted.
Well, the other thing that I'm also considering is the actual material that we'd be using. You know, generally the paintable birch, and I'm considering, you know, I'm thinking this is birch. We're not talking about any type of fir. That the normal paintable birch is really sort of an inferior grade in when you do this type of work, you'd really like to be working with the AB shop birch, which is the full 3/4 inch.
Yep.
And is, you know, a much superior material to work with. So, and so thus, if you're going to the expense of that material, then a clear coat does become, you know, an option and possibly preferable because of the wear factor and the non-scratching and all the rest of it. So I guess that that's generally where I'm headed. That I would rather see an AB shop birch. Spec full 3/4 inch that could be cleared, you know, because any less a product, it would have to be painted. We wouldn't, you know, the Chinese stuff is weird colors. It's just weird. So, you know, I would not recommend, and it's thinner. So I wouldn't recommend going that route. So, but the other thing, and then lastly, as part of this, is that, you know, looking at this, we're looking at a clear span of those shells of 3 feet 5 1/4 inches, which is a long ways for a 3/4 shelf. So we'd have to think about that as well.
Yep. Yeah, we've been juggling that too. Yeah, that's right.
So anyhow, so there's a few things to think about there.
Yep, absolutely. Thanks, Dale. That's helpful. Stephen?
Well, first, this is a question for Marianne. The kayak paddles, are they stored, I'll say broken in half?
Yes.
So I was wondering, I mean, if you went back to Dominic's possible suggestion of having the center line, could they be flat on a shelf? Because the shelves are going to be 3 feet 5 1/4 inches.
I'd have to measure them, and it would be harder because when we're, you know, you'd have to sort of dig through all of them to get to the right ones. Kayak paddles are different lengths for different people.
Right.
And so it's nice to have them all standing up because you can tell which ones are taller and which ones are shorter easily, and it's easier to grab them that way. I don't really see it working if they're stored flat because they'd have to be stacked.
Right.
So there are more paddles than there are kayaks because it's good to have some different sizes. So I just think it's better if they can be standing.
Okay.
That it's, they're kind of unwieldy to have lying flat.
Marianne, is that 1 foot 4.5 inches enough then for displaying all of them?
Only 16 inches.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
24
yeah,
deep.
yes. Yeah, it's plenty of room. So I mean, now they're in a milk carton. So what's that, 12 by 12?
Mhm.
So this is double that amount of room,
Mhm.
more than that.
Right. And the
Yeah.
depth of all of this is driven by the telescope and cooktop.
Yeah,
In plan, this is what we're looking at. So to the right, we have the circ desk and then the staff workroom up here. So you can see the depth here. This is the overhead coat rod. Okay, we'll continue to develop. This is all very helpful. The other thing that we haven't got ready for you today, but we are going to work on as well, is the circulation desk. The circulation desk is now going to be a uniform surface. We're not going to have a privacy screen component to it, so we're revising that as well. And the staff workroom closet is now going to be a generic off-the-shelf cabinet and not custom millwork. Yep. Next, I wanted to update you on the restrooms. So this is still in flux. As you know, the plumbing code changed mid to late December, and we were just made aware of this last month. And the requirement for our project now is that we need to incorporate an additional toilet fixture and sink for the women's. We've been space planning to look to see if that is viable on our project. That's a separate track to our preferred option, where we are looking to engage the Shutesbury plumbing inspector to ask for relief to meet this code requirement. So we've got 2 tracks going at this point. One is we're preparing our case to present to the local plumbing inspector, and at the same time, we just wanted to be safe and see whether we can make this work. We've been working with our code consultant and plumbing engineer on this. So what we have done to allow for the women's restroom to grow to incorporate 2 stalls and 2 sinks is that the roof eave around the building has been reduced by 6 inches to give us a foot of additional roof eave at the entry porch, so that we can allow this volume to push east, to push out. You can see this cyan line here was the original teens exterior wall. This is playing with our proportions of roof eave, and of course, greatly impacting the experience of entry to this building. So previously we had 2 gender neutral restrooms. We are now assigning the men's as this one and the women's with 2 sinks and ADA stall. Still can include a change table. We're working on this layout. This should fit, but it may need to go on this wall. So we're still working on this. And the second stall is as small as it can be. The wet walls are not ideal. It's not super efficient. So again, we're continuing to investigate this. This is really our first pass to see, can it even work? The impact of incurring into the reception and browsing. Currently, this is a 6'6" aisle. You know, if we were to hold this line here for the meeting room, you're really impacting circulation in this main space, which is already small. You know, if this were all to shift in, that's difficult. The vestibule is very difficult to pinch. Teens is, you know, cannot get any more slender. The other thing we've been looking at, and we haven't flushed out yet, is this is a pocket for the security screen that crosses over all the way and meets the this hard edge here. You know, if we were to delete it on that side and introduce it on this side, Marianne, you would lose this. This is a hold shelving niche that we have currently for staff. You know, if this pocket and security screen were to shift to the other side of the plan, that may afford us inches, right? Maybe a foot. So there's a lot at play here. We would prefer to share a wet wall. That's normally how you would design restrooms, so that the 2 restrooms share the same wet wall. The wet wall is where all the plumbing supplies the fixtures, and you prefer to have that as an interior wall. You know, this condition is exterior, and this condition is exterior. It still meets code, it still works, but not preferable. I wanted to show you also what that impact looks like on the exterior. Before I move from the plan, again, our strategy is to fight this. And this is our first pass. So this is still very malleable and very, you know, at the initial stage. If I zoom out quickly, this was images that you've seen previously to describe the upturned roof. And this is the impact that, you know, the extension of the teens room would have to house that restroom. The way we finish this, I think these rafter tails don't feel sufficient. You know, I think what we would look to do is delete them here, and you would only include them here. And I think we can manage that structurally in this detail. With our decking and structural sheathing above, and we also have cord blocking above. So I think this eave is around 6 inches, I believe. So, you know, we have to look at that. I think it doesn't feel considered, right, with these rafter tails. But the biggest detractor from this is that you don't see directly into the entrance, right? Which is a nice moment here. We really wanted to celebrate this entrance. So coming from the drop-off, you know, you don't see the door necessarily. You just see a portion of that. If you were to park in the parking lot and approach from the southeast side, you know, this is a very nice address of opening to visitors. And you don't lose that so much from this angle, right? It's still there. You're able to see where you go from entry. But, you know, if I go back to the plan, you know, anywhere from if your rival experienced anywhere from over here, your sight lines to the front door gets blocked by that. Whereas if you were to park and then come back to the building, it's not affected. So we think it's a huge loss to the entry experience. It's very different. It feels heavier. But I wanted to get these images and ramifications of where we're going with this. It's very much a tough thing to handle right now, and our best option is obviously to get relief. But you know, I was discussing this with Neil, and we wanted to at least start assessing what it would take if we have to meet that code requirement. So I will update you on my discussion with the plumbing inspector, and hopefully things go well there.
When do you expect to speak to the plumbing inspector?
I'm hoping this week.
Okay.
Yep.
Who is the plumbing inspector?
Oh,
we had one.
yes.
He part of FERCog?
Mr. Latorno. Torno. Don't have his first name.
John.
John. Yep.
And is he really allowed to? I'm surprised that you can get relief from him. I thought
you can. It's everybody. So our plumbing engineers don't hold high hopes that they're going to override state code. But our code consultant says there's 3 avenues. You address the requirement, you ask for relief from the plumbing inspector, or you go to state review. And we're not willing to do that. We don't have time. And we just don't have time in our schedule to do that. There's going to be, you know, long delays. Again, this plumbing code has affected all our projects in our office, and we have other projects that are in later stages of CDs. So it's been difficult. Larger scale, and somehow those other projects have finessed their plans to meet the requirement, because they just had no time to try and go through a review process. We're so constrained here with our 5,000 square foot roof footprint. And I think we're very well constrained on all the utilities, you know, the fact that, you know, we don't want to incur sprinkler and everything that goes along with that.
Right.
I have reached out to Fuss and O'Neill to get a sense from them. I was hoping to have an answer to you today. I was corresponding with Matt Cassane prior to this meeting, trying to get Heritage's take on this. Our understanding is that septic and the leach field is designed around the patron count, right? So occupancy numbers, not fixture counts. So, you know, that's another thing that we are hoping to not to have to redesign septic, because we have an additional toilet fixture, an additional sink, and we do now need a floor drain in the women's room because there are multiple stalls.
Okay.
So this is very much the hot item, and you know, there's others obviously with Conservation Commission, and you know, we'll find out how that goes tomorrow. But we've got everybody working on this, and I'll let you know how things go with the plumbing inspector.
Good luck. Okay.
Yeah. That's everything I had for you today. There's a lot of coordinating that's going on in the background, you know, with structural, with finessing details, and landscape and civil obviously have been working a lot on parking. Mechanical have been working on their sections as well, and more to you, Marianne, the electrical side of things will start to hone in on. Yeah. Yes, Penny.
A random question that doesn't really tie into what we're talking about, but it's popped
Mm.
in my head as I think about
Mhm.
landscaping. One thing we've never talked about is exterior water faucets on the building. Is that something
Yes,
you're thinking about?
it is, and we have included. It's a great question, and we can discuss now. Actually, we have two locations currently. One is near the storage room, the meeting room storage room here on this side, and the other one is up behind the water service room.
Mhm.
And so I think that's a good start. But a question to you is, do you want the infrastructure to get a bib out north or south? I think the one to the south would be fairly easy. It depends on whether you go through the slab or not. I think I don't have the plumbing drawings. So we currently have two, at least to the east and the west sides of the building. And if you were to have a long enough hose, that the fact that the site is somewhat constrained to the south, I don't know whether you would need one there, but to the north, potentially you might like to have
Yeah,
one.
I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of planting to the north. And I'm also imagining that putting a faucet on the north end of the building is much more complicated.
It is a little bit.
There isn't any water service that goes to that end of the building.
Exactly. I
And-
understand that.
Right.
That's right.
So I think, we just plan to manage it with hoses.
Right. Well, at least there's a water faucet. I mean,
Right.
Yeah.
thinking of those of us who maintain town gardens where there is no water faucet,
Mm-hmm.
like at the library, the current library.
Mm-hmm.
But we're also not responsible for 60 trees. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a long way to move water.
It is. And, whether there's kind of a seasonal temporary extension
Yeah.
that you take, right? You could get a double off this
Mhm.
one and run another line to a stake that you have out here
Might be
during the warmer
reasonable.
months. So currently we do have two, but as things progress, let us know if you feel like there's a need. There's going to be a little bit of an add cost, I think. We haven't priced the infrastructure for another one to the north.
Right. No, and where I would like it, I think is probably from an expense point, the worst spot.
Right. At the north side.
Exactly.
Yeah. So again, that's all I have, at least for this week. A lot of big meetings happening and looking forward to those to see how things continue on. I had one last question for the MBLC for you, Andrea, and Heather, just to see, I don't know if I missed comments from DD from you. I just wanted to.
We had supplied all of our comments along the way. So
Great.
you've
Excellent.
received everything. Yes.
Excellent.
So this design subcommittee will meet next at noon on the 21st. Does that work for everybody?
What day of the week is that?
Wednesday.
Yes.
The MBLC may be in Hanson for the PJ Drive kickoff to assist. So.
All right. Dominic, that works.
I am available. Yes. That's
Okay.
good. Thank
All
you.
righty. Okay, so we'll plan that and just try and keep on a schedule. And then I'll talk to Elaine and we'll schedule a full building committee meeting to choose a well contractor. And then there's a full library building committee meeting tomorrow at 1 to meet with all the town boards and departments.
Yep.
So we'll
And
see.
is that in person?
No, that's on Zoom.
Okay.
And so we'll see everybody tomorrow at 1.
But we will be at town hall to do that tomorrow at 1, won't we, Marianne?
But yeah, but I wasn't thinking that, well, I guess we can change the posting. I haven't texted. It's easier for Lenny to
Right.
do in person. So I was
And
gonna
I-
ask Lenny to put the meeting up on the screen here.
And I offered it to Steve too. And I
Okay,
imagine,
good. Yeah.
I
okay.
imagine Kristen and Becky will come downstairs too.
It'll probably be easier for them. So, yeah, so, okay. All right.
Okay,
And can we also get clarification? So tomorrow building committee at 1 and at 7?
At
yes,
7 o'clock, that's the Conservation Commission, the hearing for the NOI. And we thought it was a good idea to just post a library building committee meeting in case a reason
For a quorum?
suspension came up. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so it's not
Mhm.
an actual building committee meeting tomorrow
No,
evening?
no,
Okay,
no.
okay. So we probably will see you at 1 tomorrow then, and
Okay,
that will be,
okay, good. All right. Okay, all right. So, and you'll keep us posted about the restroom situation, Dominic. when we-
Yes, I will. Yep,
Inspector.
absolutely.
Okay, great. Okay, all right. I think
Great.
that- Okay, thanks, everyone. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
yeah,
Bye.
bye.